violence or no other kind of violence.
Get away! I could be at work, at school, in my car, I can still get shot by the police, but I can get shot anywhere.
So it is what it is.
What's good, YouTube? It's the Black Gen Z Mindset. Make sure you go ahead and like, comment, share, subscribe. Let's get into the video.
New tonight, an arrest in the murder of a woman who was found in a plastic container on the street. Right before we went on the air tonight, 21-year-old Khalid Barrow was walked out of the 23rd precinct in East Harlem.
Wow. I told you guys, women, children, these super gremlins, they hitting everybody up. I got a story about a super gremlin who killed a man in Atlanta. They're hitting everybody up, and it's really insane. It really is. Can't run away from it.
He's now facing murder and concealment of a corpse charges. Officers identified the victim as 35-year-old Nisaa Walcott. Yesterday, someone noticed that her foot was sticking out of a container that was placed on a street in the Melrose section of the Bronx. Police have not said how she was killed, nor have they given a motive.
A disturbing discovery in the Bronx today. A woman's body found inside of a container late tonight. Officials confirming the victim, 35-year-old Nisaa Walcott, may have been dead for days. But now police are trying to figure out how she died and how she ended up in that container. Eyewitness News reporter Naveen Dhaliwal has the story.
This quiet street in Melrose turned into what looked like an episode of a crime show as detectives pieced together their investigation after a decomposing body was found in a storage bin.
That's shocking. This is my block.
The container.
Yeah, and the Bronx has been going crazy. You know, these sisters really have a point. These sisters really have a point. Black women need to be protected because in this case, it's not about who you was dating and whatnot. It really wasn't. It was her own damn cousin. So you got to be on high alert around your family members if they're super gremlins. And I know that sisters want to advocate for these super gremlins who are doing these heinous crimes and saying, oh, he just need a second chance, a program, or poverty is the reason why he did that. Nah. The reason why he did that is because he's a super gremlin on demon time.
Was sitting next to a dresser on the curb across a storage facility. The piece of furniture, neighbors say, had been sitting there for days.
I was looking at that dresser because, you know, the storage place, they bring all their garbage over there.
Investigators say a man took notice of that dresser on University Avenue around 11 this morning. When he came back to pick it up 3 hours later, he noticed a clear plastic bin next to it that wasn't there earlier. Even more startling, a human foot was protruding from the container along with a foul odor.
It's absurd to me.
Neighbor Stephanie Nunez's stepfather had just parked his car.
Damn, she fine.
Next to that dresser moments before the discovery.
He got out the car, didn't notice anything, and not even a minute passed, and that's when the cops came. That's when we found out a couple minutes after that it was a body.
When neighbors learned the body.
Why was she laughing? It was a woman killed and she... Wow.
It passed, and that's when the cops came. That's when we found out a couple minutes after that it was a body.
When neighbors learned the body was of a woman?
It was a woman.
Concerns sank in quickly.
It was a woman found decomposed. I am a woman, a single black woman at that. I have children. This is crazy.
You think these super gremlins care about that? No. Nah. Not at all, B. Okay. So, we're going to start seeing a lot more of this, and sisters are going to keep advocating and protesting and voting for prison reform. And we're not really, I think this is going to take a 10, 20 year, it's going to be like 10, 20 years down the line before we actually have the community in unison come together and say, hey, yo, we got a real problem here.
That's afraid because I have my daughter, she's 14 years old and she goes to school by herself.
Neighbors say it's common for people from the storage facility to dump their garbage on the curb. But after this discovery, they want that to stop. In Melrose, Naveen Dhaliwal, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Investigators have identified the body found in a storage container in the Bronx as an East Harlem woman who was reported missing earlier this week.
Weekend Today, New York's Jessica Cunnington spoke exclusively with the victim's best friend as she's grieving.
We were trying to find her and we didn't want to find her like this.
Luz Droz just found out her best friend Nisaa Walcott, who's been missing since last week, was found dead Friday on a sidewalk in the Bronx.
She was a beautiful person. She was a hard worker. She was a single mother. She worked hard for everything. She was an entrepreneur.
And dang, man, I hate it for the kids. These kids being left orphans. It's getting twisted, man, for real. It's getting twisted.
She didn't deserve this.
She says the 35-year-old worked for ACS, loved life, and that leaving her 15-year-old son is not like her.
Oh my God.
Police say Walcott's decomposing body was found inside a plastic storage bin on University Avenue in Highbridge, a massive crime scene set up into the night.
That's one police car stopped all the traffic, and the police were coming rushing to the spot. And one police officer was pointing to the spot.
A source telling News 4, a man looking through items on top of the plastic bin spotted a leg. Then 911 was called.
How come somebody in this broad daylight drag a body and dump it over here?
I mean, the Super Gremlin does it all the time, so this is kind of the norm, you know. And what's up with these woman's cousins killing them? You know, I did a story on another woman who was killed by her cousin. I think it was in Minnesota or Milwaukee, but it's going crazy right now when it comes to the familial Super Gremlins on Demon Time.
You know, it's hard times. I don't know what the hell is happening. I don't know what happened, so we don't know the details.
The crime scene unit combing through the evidence all day and removing her body as her friends Friday night mourned in East Harlem, where Walcott lived with her teenage son.
She was a beautiful spirit, and she'll always be with us.
And a heartbreaking and whirlwind of a day on Friday for Nisaa Walcott's friends, who spent all day printing out more missing posters because they still had hope that they would find her.
Man, and that's sickening. And the story I was referring to was Zion Foster. I forgot exactly where it was, but the cousin ended up killing her. And that one was really crazy to me. And he dumped her body kind of like in this same situation. So this is starting to be a common occurrence in the community, man. Check your first and second cousins for real, because they might be a Super Gremlin on Demon Time.
But now they're trying to wrap their head around not only her death, but the way that she was found. Police are investigating her death right now as the medical examiner's office will determine Nisaa Walcott's cause of death. In East Harlem, I'm Jessica Cunnington. Weekend Today in New York.
I'm here on the corner of MLK and Frederick Douglass, where a shooting just took place. And as you can see, it's a pretty rough area. So I'm basically risking my life reporting on this madness. So make sure you do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. Like the video, hell, share the video. And make sure you go ahead and leave a comment down in the comments section to continue the discussion on how we can find solutions to all this son violence in the streets. I'm Janquavius Jackson, here live, reporting from Atlanta, Georgia, BGZM News 17.
Developing tonight, an arrest in a chilling case. A young mother found dead inside a plastic bin. Her body decomposing on a sidewalk in the Bronx for weeks. Tonight, police have charged a 21-year-old man with murder, and they believe that suspect is the victim's own cousin.
Oh, man. You could tell he was on demon time by the way he took his mug shot. It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
He was walked out of the 23rd precinct in East Harlem just a short time ago after being questioned. And News 4's Anjali Hemphill spoke to the mother's friends as they remembered her life tonight.
A growing vigil tonight for Nisaa Walcott outside her building in East Harlem. Her friends and neighbors shaken about her gruesome death.
The way she died did not represent who she was as a person. She is full of life, full of everything that makes people happy. She sees you sad, she smiles with you.
Her decomposing body found 1 day earlier in a plastic bin on a Bronx sidewalk. Senior law enforcement sources tell News 4 they've seen surveillance video from the East Harlem building where Walcott lived that shows her entering the building and never coming back out. They say it also shows a man identified as Walcott's cousin carrying a large, heavy plastic container up to the roof.
Dang. And what in the world would make your cousin kill you? I mean, and it's a female at that. Like, what are these super gremlins on? Did they have a little argument? Did she tell him he needed to get his stuff together? What was it that sent him over the edge that he felt like he needed to do this?
And then later returning sometime after midnight Friday, this time with another man, who sources say is shown helping him take the bin down to the street where it's believed the two loaded it into a car. And sources say more surveillance video from nearby the crime scene in the Bronx shows the two men removing the container and pushing the bin to where it was eventually discovered Friday afternoon. Sources go on to say Walcott's cousin also sent text messages to her family members to throw them off.
Wow. So this is premeditated. This what is going on in the community, bruh?
We were trying to find her, and we didn't want to find her like this.
The 35-year-old social worker disappeared last week. Friends and family had posted about it on social media, hoping for a better outcome. Loved ones now mourning her death and trying to process why this happened.
She was a beautiful person. She was a hard worker. She was a single mother. She worked hard for everything. She was an entrepreneur, and she didn't deserve this.
Anjali Hemphill, News 4 New York.
Numb and empty right now.
Eugene Butler is struggling to find the...
I'm feeling very numb and empty right now.
Eugene Butler is struggling to find the words to describe his emotions. He spoke exclusively to CBS 2 News after the death of his 35-year-old sister, Nisaa Walcott.
Nisaa was a beautiful person. She was a caring, loving woman that really loved her family.
Walcott's body was found in a plastic storage container Friday. Investigators say a passerby noticed the body on University Place in the Highbridge section of the Bronx and called 911. The day before, her brothers reported the young mother missing after repeated attempts to call her were returned with what they deemed suspicious text messages.
The language that was being used was like, wait a minute, that's not my sister.
Saturday, grief-stricken members of the community lit candles outside her home in East Harlem. Walcott's father and other brother were too distraught to speak on camera. Her longtime friends say they are horrified by the violence.
Good person, free-spirited, kind, loving, entrepreneurial. She was a good woman. She did not deserve to be discarded like trash on the street.
Walcott's family and friends say her main priority was her 14-year-old son. They say the two were extremely close. He's now with his father, trying to process what happened.
She really took care of her son. She was a hard worker. And her last job was working with ACS, so, you know, she was involved with wanting to help people. She was an entrepreneur. She was a beautiful spirit, strong woman.
Walcott's cousin, 21-year-old Khalid Barrow, has now been arrested and is charged with murder and concealment of a human corpse in connection to the death. Her brother is grateful for the quick arrest.
This is barbaric, very gutless. The person who did this had to have been a person with no soul, because all she wanted to do was help this person.
That's y'all cousin. That's the super gremlin. That's what they do, man. I mean, it's upsetting, man. It's wild. It's unfathomable. But the Bronx has some major issues, and you see Mayor Eric Adams, he done tapped out. He ain't showing up to none of these murders no more. He just through with it.
Family's priority now is that there is justice for their loved one. In East Harlem, Karen Dillon, CBS 2 News.
Nisa was loved. You know, this has to stop.
Shock and devastation in East Harlem after the body of 35-year-old Nisaa Walcott was found inside a storage container in the Bronx. Walcott's father, who was too overcome with emotion to talk on camera, embraced his daughter's longtime friend, Delia Soto.
When we got the phone call, it was just the worst thing in the world, because we know she's not coming home to her son, her family.
Soto was among dozens who showed up Saturday night for a vigil outside Walcott's home in East Harlem. Loved ones lit candles, wrote messages of support, and remembered their dear friend.
The way she died did not represent who she was as a person. She is full of life, full of everything that makes people happy. She sees you sad, she smiles with you. I just don't know what else to say.
Walcott.
She did good, man. She did good of describing this woman's character. The super gremlin on black crime is horrendous, all right? It's going crazy right now. Stories I can't even keep up with, okay? I'm having to delete stuff off my archives because I can't get to it all, but this is a normal occurrence in the community. It really is.
Walcott went missing last week. Her friends put up flyers and reached out to members of their community. They say they never imagined her body would be discovered on the side of the road.
And know that somebody you love, that they disregarded like trash on the side of the highway? No. We have to have justice for Nisaa.
Walcott leaves behind a teenage son. She raised him on her own alongside a close-knit group of friends, many of them also single mothers.
I just pray her son could grow without being just tormented for the rest of his life because his mom got taken.
He knows that we're here for him, that you have family, that don't think that you're alone in this world. You know, he had was his mom. So, like, now what?
Now Walcott's friends want someone to be held responsible for this senseless tragedy.
When are we going to stop trafficking women? We were going to start hurting our women. Women are mothers. You know, we love Nisaa. We just want justice.
You know, and the biggest, the saddest part about this whole situation is that you know these sisters are woke, man. You know these women are woke, and you know that they're not going to vote the way that needs to be done to actually keep these guys off the street, you know? It's going to take time. It's going to take a political initiative, but, you know, a lot of these murders could be prevented if these longtime offenders were getting more time instead of no cash bail, and that's prevalent in New York. That's prevalent in this area, man, of the Bronx. Dudes who got charges racked up coming home after 5 hours in a holding cell.
You know, it's to the point where we can't live like this no more.
Although Walcott may be gone, her friends say her presence is felt, and they pray it never goes away.
We're going to pray for her because God only knows that in his heart, she's with him. She's an angel. She's with all of us right now. We just want justice.
Police say Walcott's 21-year-old cousin has been arrested in connection with her death. Khalid Barrow is charged with murder and concealment of a human corpse. In East Harlem, Rebecca Greenberg, New York 1.
Gang violence and other kind of violence. So it is what it is.